Have you ever taken a photo that felt magical in the moment, and then you looked at the photo later and thought, ugh, that is not it? That gap between how something felt and how it looks can be really frustrating, but it's also incredibly important. That disconnect doesn't mean you failed. It means your eye's developing faster than your execution. And that's actually a good thing, because it's difficult to create something unless you can first visualize it. They say it's not possible for someone to accomplish a major feat without mentally seeing themselves do it. We're in the throes of the Winter Olympics right now, right? I can only imagine the amount of visualization done by the amazing athletes and ice skaters to be able to deliver such magnificent performances. It's vital to be able to see it in our mind's eye before we can do it or create it. So let's get down to the core. When something moves you to take a photo, it's usually because of light, mood, emotion, or story. And sometimes that story is a creation in your own imagination, like the Rialto Bridge I just showed you. I longed to travel to Italy for probably decades, and I certainly wanted to photograph that famous romantic shot in Venice from the Rialto Bridge. It's probably been captured by every artist who ever went there, right? But in my mind, it was a lovely day with soft lights and colorful buildings, old world charm, beautifully lit gondolas with happy lovers, soft music floating in the distance. No, that is not what it looked like. It was crappy light, lots of bustling people on the bridge. Not a great time of day for lighting. It was backlit with hardly any color. Nothing like I saw it in my mind. And this was my only shot at it. We were only in Venice for one day on our vacation. But cameras don't automatically record feelings. They record information. And this is what the scene really looked like. I improved it a little bit in Lightroom, but this is what I translated it to in my visual voice later on. Not every image gets a total transformation like this one. This is one of my all-time favorites though, and it hangs in my bedroom as a 20 by 30 print. I just love it. But then I went to the other side of the bridge. There's sunshine and a completely different vibe, right? So 6 minutes later, we're off the bridge and down at the water's edge on the other side. It's a completely different scene. So we sat at the cafe, had a little glass of wine, and then I saw this guy. I jumped up to take just 3 shots. This is also one of my favorites, and it's hanging in my dining room. These 2 pictures were literally taken 52 minutes apart and probably about 50 feet away from each other. But this one barely needed any work. This is the original image, so I processed it in Lightroom to open up the shadows and restore the highlights and deepen the colors a little. Then I leveled it and straightened the perspective of the buildings a little bit. It looks pretty good like this, but I wanted it to match my other Italian art, so I added a little old world texture to it, and there you have it. Such a great memory. Your job as a photographer is to translate feeling into visual choices. So when you're photographing, ask yourself, was it the softness of the light? Or the contrast and the depth, maybe? Or the peaceful quiet or solitude? Maybe it was the tension. Notice how I made it black and white and moody to intensify the feeling. How about the color? You know I'm a total color freak. Or the leading lines or journey. Perhaps even the symbolism. Once you identify what you felt, then you can make decisions that support it. Like angle. This creates drama and a sense of awe and strength. Distance. This may even determine the lens you use. You can also leverage relative scale. Remember, to capture something huge in your frame, you need to be far away. But it's fun to include tiny things with it too, at close range, like in this shot. Timing is also a key tool sometimes. And then there's always the after editing and adding some special magic. This is where intention begins. As you develop your visual voice, you'll notice how sometimes it's only in the camera, and sometimes it takes on a whole new life in the computer. Truly, it's often a shared role between the capture and post-processing. And that's why you're here with me on this journey. My goal is to help you learn to see and capture the beautiful images you see in your mind's eye, and learn the skills to put them into pixels through the camera and also in editing. Creating art is definitely a journey. I'm excited for the next chapter of our journey where we'll get to learn how to add those extra layers and nuances and tones into our visual skills with Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop. Before you get a little overwhelmed, remember, every photographer you admire has experienced this gap. The difference is they didn't quit there, they stayed curious. So here's your assignment. This weekend, when something catches your eye, pause and name the feeling before you take the photo. You can even say it out loud if you want, like soft or quiet or dramatic or joyful. Then let that word guide your choices. I'll see you again next weekend. Until then, trust what you feel and let it guide how you capture it. And don't be afraid of not getting it right. It's a journey of exploration.